Hello everyone. So today we are going to start discussing our first game. So that is the travel game, and that particular application will have to give us some certain plan for this coming summer. So what is that and how does it work? So here there is the very simple node, text view component, one button generate plan. There are 5 cities. So, and if I will travel from one city to another city, so here the application will tell us the distance in between those two cities. So altogether there are 5 cities, 4 distances. So and finally the application will also give us total. So how does it work? Click the generate plan. So as default, we will assume that we start from Seoul. So and where do I want to go? From Seoul to Paris, from Paris to Madrid, Madrid to Singapore, Singapore to Seoul. So and here where is that distance? So Seoul to Paris 8,900 kilometers, Paris to Madrid 1,000, Madrid to Singapore 11,000 kilometers, Singapore to Seoul 4,600 kilometers, like totally 26,071 kilometers. So if I will click that generate one more time, so here we can see instead of Madrid, I do have New York. So and here if I will click it as many times as possible, so we can see that there are quite a lot of changes happen. So the few things, what is important here, as long as we are in Seoul, we will start from Seoul and we'll finish in Seoul. That is important. Those 3 cities in the middle, so they are randomly picked. So altogether, we do have a choice in between 6 cities abroad, not including Seoul. So with Seoul, there are 7 cities in our application. And again, once the sequence will be generated for our cities, so the application must calculate that particular distance. So and that will be our target for today. Okay, so definitely here we will have to use that particular random sequence application, what we discussed previous class, like previous lecture. And today we are going to implement that particular application in some scenario. So what we just discussed now. So first of all, let's make that application design. So we will start from the new application, new project. So let's call our application travel game. Travel game. Travel game. Okay, so and here one by one I will add all necessary components. Okay, the first. So this is our first one. So and here I supposed to write my plan for summer is to visit. Okay, so now I need button. So that button text will be generate plan. Okay, so here there are 5 cities, what we are going to place them. This one is better. So, and this is our city one. So let's call it city one. City number one. So as long as our cities may have a different length, so word like characters wise, let's fix the length. Let's say that will be 100 dp. Okay, and now I need many of them. Just Ctrl V, like copy, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, clear constraint. Here. Uh, 16. Okay, so this is our city 2. Yeah, index 2. So and we need 5 of them. 16, 16, city 3, 3. Mm, 16, 4. Okay, and the last one, city 5. City 5, 5. Done. So next I need that 4 distances. That again will be the text view. Five, 8. So let's call it distance. Okay, as long as that will be the distance in between two cities, let's call it distance 1, 2. So here again. Okay, maybe a little bit. Yeah, okay. Later we can adjust them. Okay, copy this. Too much. 16. Oh, okay. Don't forget to name them properly. So this is the distance 2, 3. So this is distance 3, 4. Okay, and here I need one more, which will be our last distance. Okay, that will be our distance 4, 5. So, and in our application, I need one more total. So let's move it here. Two. Okay, let's call it total. total. Okay, done. Let's check whether it works or not. Okay, travel game, done. So the next, what we will need to do, okay, I think I forgot to make on-click property, click, generate. Don't forget on-click property. So now we will have to come back to our source file and start coding. So we do have quite many different widgets, and those widgets, they are all text view. So let's make them text view. Remember, the name must be slightly different. So I will call it like city1. So we need 5 cities. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We need 4 distances. Call it distance. Okay, distance 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. So we also need total, 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 and that's all. So let's create them here as well. City1, edit text, find by ID, RID, City1. Text view. So there are 5 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the same I will need to do for distances. Here will be the distance 1, 2. And there are 3 more distances. 2, 3, 3, 4, and for 5. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. Okay, one more for total. So total. Okay, and we need one more function for the generate plan. Public void click generate view. Okay, so now our application should work without the problem. So we click generate, nothing happened because we did not code anything yet. So definitely will be quite many different things what we will need to add here. Okay, so the next what we will need to do is to make some database. See, in our applications, so there are quite many data. So what we're supposed to place? First of all, our application must know the city's name. So that will be the first what we will need to create here. As long as this is text, that will be the string, and here is what like string is let's call it like cities. Yeah, we can just call it cities. and inside, that's very similar to the test application. So here we will place all of our cities, all of the data what will be used in our application. So from that view, it is difficult to see how many different cities we have. So technically here there are 7 cities including Seoul. So, and let's make them. So here one by one we need to place all of our cities. London, Tokyo, Madrid, Singapore, Paris, and New York. So that will be all of our cities. That's the sequence, original sequence of our sequence in the application. So when we will generate like a random sequence, so we can call our cities in a different manner. Okay, so here the next one will be the final, like the number of all our cities. Call it cities number, and the number of them is 7. So as long as our application is not only displaying the city's name, it is also displaying the distances in between 2 different cities. So right here we will need to add those particular distances. So as long as this is distances, let's use the integer array. So the integer distances. So that must be the 2-dimensional array. Actually, impossible to place too much data into the 1-dimensional array, and even if we can do it, like logically, we can do it. So that will be very difficult to handle that particular data. So how can we add that data here? So the distances is fixed. So everybody knows the distances, like we can get them from internet. That's exactly what I want to do. So as long as I do have 7 cities, so here I can add them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all together will be 7 cities, and for each city I supposed to make distances. So how can I get distances? So very simple. Just go Google. I just type the distance from, and the first what I found was like the mapdevelopers.com website, where I can get so the differences. And here we can write. Assume that I want to know what is the distance between Seoul to, so what, our first London. Okay, this is the distance, 8,857 kilometers. Okay, so why it is 2-dimensional array? So because in that 2-dimensional array, so now we can place the distance properly. So actually the first element must be always 0, because here the like element 0, 0, any elements in main diagonal, so that will means the same city. So how does it work? For example, here I want to measure the distance from Seoul. So like each line here, that will be the distances from different cities. So second city in my list is London, so that's why the second line will be the London. So the third one is Tokyo, and so on. So here in the top, I can also mention, this is like not, so this is, let's say this is from Seoul, from London, from Tokyo. From Tokyo. So here will be the to Seoul, and not enough space for that. Anyway, the idea is so. So here will be to London. London. So the next will be to Tokyo. Tokyo. To Madrid. Singapore. To Paris. And to New York. To New York. So in here, one by one, we can place our numbers. So you can do it by yourself, like use this website, you can get the all distances. So I will just use the metrics what I create by myself. Yeah. Okay. Tokyo, Singapore, Paris, New York. Something like this. So you can make it by yourself even better. Anyway, what is the idea of this matrix distance? So the lines, as I said, this is the information like from where I want to go, like from Seoul, and here the vertical lines, the rows, this is where do I need to go? To Seoul, to London, to Tokyo, Madrid, Singapore, Paris, New York. See, how does it work? For example, if I want to go from Seoul to Seoul, logically distance is 0. But if I want to go to London, so that distance will be here. And in opposite, so if I am in London and I want to go Seoul, so the distance will be the same as from the Seoul to London, which is again logically correct. So and here we can see all of those necessary distances related to where I am now and where I am going. So altogether here, like 7 by 7, 49 numbers. The main diagonal of that matrix is all zeros. All other numbers here, they will present information what I want to know. So now by using that matrix distance, so in the first parameter, I will need to place from where I am now, what is my current location. The second coordinate will be where do I want to go. Seoul, London, Tokyo, Madrid, and so on. So there are too many different cities, but in our case, there are only 7 cities. So I am currently in the one of them and going into the rest 6 cities. So this is the point of using the component distance. Okay, so this part is done. So the first what we will need to talk about is that particular way how to handle the random sequence, because definitely here will be a lot of things to discuss. The first of all, let's handle it somehow. See, I click the button generate. So what must happen here? So the first I will need to randomly generate the sequence of some numbers, and those numbers will link us to the different cities. So how does it work? So see here I do have string cities. As long as this is array, so the first component is 0, this component is 1, this is 2, Tokyo is the index 2, Madrid is the index 3, Singapore 4, Paris 5, New York 6. So what does it mean? So together we do have 6 cities. So each city now has the corresponding index. So if I'm talking about the Seoul, this is the index 0. If I'm talking about the London, this is the index 1, and so on. And in order to start our procedure, I supposed to generate the sequence, and then in that sequence the numbers should not be repeated. I can go same city 2 times, but assume that I don't want to go to I don't want to come back to the same city again. Exception is the Seoul. As long as we are living in Seoul, so we will start from Seoul and finish in Seoul. But we will talk about it later. So the first of all, let's just try to generate the sequence of different cities where the order of those cities will be random. And important part, those cities should not be repeated. Okay, so for that we need a random sequence, what we discussed before. This is the random sequence application, and let's add that particular part here. So we do have random sequence application. This is our previous code, okay, and here is the code where we click the button permutate. So the permute means generating that particular random sequence. Okay, I will just copy everything. Not I don't need those permuted sequence from here, and the way to place it will be a little bit different. Okay, so see here I want those random sequence. Okay, so the random sequence. I know exactly how many elements I will have there, isn't it? New integer, and here will be what? The number of cities, isn't it? Cities number. Cities number. Done. So now we randomly allocate 7 numbers. So that's numbers just occupied in the memory. There is no any coding yet. Okay, and now that particular array, like that sequence, is what? Generate. Let's make a function, generate a random sequence. Okay, and let's input one parameter, cities number. So in our application there is no that function, so that's why let's create it. So public. So see, the output parameter will be the matrix, so the array of the integer numbers. So that's why integer bracket. So that means that the output of our function will be the integer array. Generate random sequence, and one parameter what I need to add here is the length. So, and actually inside here I supposed to add the source code from my previous function, or not function, like from the previous application. So, and here we are going to create a function. So because that generate random sequence now must be the function. So, and okay. So a lot of information from here I don't need. Like this log step I don't need. Okay. So in case instead of the sequence length, here will be a length. Okay, s. Let's make that array. So integer s array new integer length. So as long as this is function, so we need to return some data, and I supposed to return s. So definitely I cannot process it because remember in our source code before doing permutation, so the first we supposed to generate original sequence. So and that original sequence I will also copy from my code. So here I supposed to generate original sequence first. So we'll generate that original sequence first. So we'll like create S. So and the S will be like, let's write it here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that will be our original sequence S, and here we are going to permute it. My random is not exist in this source code. That's why I come here, final, random, my random, new random. So that will automatically give us the access to the random numbers, and now we can use them. Okay, done. As long as we already test that particular code, so assume that the random numbers will be always generated correctly. So, and what, like how can we check it? See, here I do have 5 cities, and in that cities, let's display the, okay, let's display it into the total. I just want to display my sequence. I want to see the numbers. So I want to display them in the total. So the 4. So we do have the function for that. Make string from array. So I will copy that function from here, place it here, and let's use it. So total set text, make string from array, random sequence, cities number. So, and here instead of total, I will see that particular sequence. So now I want to check whenever I can generate those particular numbers correctly or not. Okay, so here there are 7 numbers. The chance that we will not get the correct one is minimum because we already checked it last time. So this is the sequence what will be generated in our application, and that sequence we are going to use. The few components, the few more moments, what will be better to fix. See, that particular random sequence I don't really need to create in this particular way. So what I can do this. It doesn't change anything. I don't need to create an array and after that place the numbers here. So I can create and place numbers simultaneously. So that's why this is the same as was displayed before. So I create the random, I create array, which is like random sequence. So inside of generate random sequence, I will create array with the 7 elements inside, and after that I will return that array back. So and our random sequence will become array S. So that's why it's match each other, and that's why here we can see that particular numbers. Okay, so what is next here? So the next will be to display our cities, because here instead of city 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I want to display cities in the index 4, 5, 6, 1, and 2. So there are 5 cities. Let's display 5 of them in the screen. So how can I display that particular information here? So here, where is the problem? See, in order to get access to that particular widgets, I supposed to call city1, city2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So technically, I supposed to do this. City1 set text. Okay. Now, where I can get that particular text for the city1? See, here the index is 4. So it means that I supposed to display the Singapore instead of the city1. So I will use array cities. Cities, this is nothing else as the set of our cities, then of the city's name. Okay, so here the square bracket, and now I need to place this number 4. So the number 4 is located in the array random sequence in the position 0. So remember, here I display the random sequence. So in that number 4 I supposed to place here. But every time when I will click the button generate, so that number will not be 4. So that number will be always randomly picked. So, and I need to get the first number from the random sequence. Okay, so that's why this is very tricky. So inside I will use the random sequence in the position 0. Okay, so the random sequence in the position 0, this is that number 4. And that number 4 will link us into the Singapore. So that's why here I will display Singapore. Now let's check. I will not add any other names. Let's just check with the first number. Okay, see here 4 Singapore, 6 New York, 5 Paris, 2 Tokyo, Singapore, New York, Tokyo, money. Haven't changed much. Okay, so now if I want to display the second city, so here I supposed to do this 2, and here instead of the random sequence 0, 1. So because in the second position I want to display a city in the position like in the second position, and that index is 1. So now if I will run, so now I can see 2 cities. So I do have 5 of them, so technically I will need to write the 5 lines. Actually, in the Android Studio, in the general Java programming, we can simplify that particular way of displaying the information. So because my widgets, I can unify together. So for the radio buttons, we already tried that particular way. So how does it work? Private text view. Let's call it cities list array equal new text view, and here I supposed to place how many cities I have in my list 5. So we did that exactly the same for the radio buttons. So technically I can do the same for the all other objects in the Android Studio in general Java. So next what I will need to do is to place our cities into that list. So for example, cities list in the position 0, that will be my city 1. And here, one by one, I can add 5 cities. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I don't need to call city 1, city 2, city 3, city 4, city 5. By using that indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I can allocate them all together and call them together. So see, I need 5 cities. I will make a loop. Let's call it city ID. Start from 0. City ID less than, okay, altogether I do have 5. The number of cities is 7, but I can display only 5. So by the way, that the same procedure you must use in your TOEIC application, because there are 25 questions, 25 corresponding answers, but you will display only 10. So this is the way how to use it. I do have 7 cities, but I want to display only 5. And by the way, the sequence of my cities will not have the repetition. Same for the TOEIC. So that will help you with the TOEIC application. Okay, so now city ID 0, city ID less than 5, city ID plus plus. So inside I will do this city list bracket city ID. Remember, this is our text view. So, and if I will click dot, so here I see there is all of the functions related to text view, like set text cities, because this is the set of all of my random sequence. And here, see, I play 0, 1, 2, 3 because I want to display the certain cities. Instead, I can call city ID, because the city ID, this is the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and finally, I don't need this. And now if I will run this code, I can see 5 cities which doesn't have a repetition. So the array is displayed here. And so on. Okay, so that problem solved. So what will be the next point to discuss? Looks like okay, but we do have some limitation. So that limitation is that I want to start traveling from Seoul, and later I want to come back to Seoul. So that's why my first city should be always Seoul. My last city should be always Seoul. And how to do that? As long as our numbers will be generated randomly, so we cannot control where is 0 and where is the Seoul. The Seoul may appear in the any part of that particular sequence. So, and we must move our Seoul into the first position. So what do we need to do for that? Okay, random sequence, yeah, let's display it twice. So here I supposed to first find the Seoul location in the random sequence. In the random sequence. Let's see, now the 0 is located into 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why the Seoul appeared last one. So see here, the last one. So here is the number 4. So here we cannot even see it because it has the index 5, but we will display everything up to the index 4, and so on. So the Seoul most probably will never come to the beginning. Like, there will be the very small chance to see the Seoul in the beginning if I will just use the random allocation. So, but what we can do, we can find where is our Seoul and swap with the first city. So if we will do that kind of swapping, so we can always get our Seoul first. Okay, so and that's why I need to find where is the Seoul in my current randomly generated sequence. Okay, so let's do this, like integer, current Seoul location. So I want to find the current Seoul location. So how will I find? I will use the function. Find Seoul location. So in order to find the Seoul location, so input parameter will be the random sequence. So in the random sequence, I want to know where is the location of that 0. 0, 1, 2. So the 2 will be the location of that 0, and I need that information. So means here I need one more function, like public integer, because I am going to move back the index. So the integer find sole location. So here will be the integer array. It technically doesn't really matter what it's called array. Initial array. Okay, so now how can I find it? The best way is to use the while loop. So if my init array, if the position id equals 0, so integer id equals 0. So here, so init array, this is my sequence. So id will link us to the different element in that array. So here will be the id plus plus. So if my init array in the position id equals 0, so here will be the search for location of 0. So if finally I will meet that 0, so means that this is my current location where I do have sole right now. And that index will be moved back into our function like click generate. So now I can use this current sole location. So in that particular configuration, so current sole location will be equal to, I can write it here. Equal to, so in here we can write our random sequence 4 3 0 5 2 6 1 6 1. So in that particular random sequence, like 0 has the index 2, and we are going to get it back. Okay, so the next what I will need to do is to swap city in the first position like with so as long as I already know my current sole location, so I can do that. So we need buffer. So we need buffer. So and that buffer will be our random sequence in the position 0. So that will be the city what I want to move, what I want to swap. Okay, now random in the position 0 will be 0 because I always search for sole located in the first position, so that's why that will be always 0. Okay, so and now I need to place my city what I was in the first position into the position of sole. So the random sequence in the position of the current sole location, so here in the position 2, so will be equal buffer. Buffer. That's what I want. Okay, so here we can name it like my buffer will be 4. See, because the random sequence in position 0 is 4. So here, if I will place 0 into the first location, so here my random sequence will become this. So instead of 4, I will have 0. So and finally, when we will move our like random sequence into position current soul location, which is 2. So here 0. So and here will be the 4. So technically what is happening, this 0 and this 4, they will swap each other. So 0 will go first, and the city what was in the first location with the index 0 will go into the soul location. Okay, so now let's check. Okay, now I think I will need to display it one more time just to check why it is not displayed. Total text plus new line. Doesn't change. Okay, so what is the problem? So why I cannot do that? Let's see what is the current location. Like soul location equal, and I want to see here that soul location. Okay, this is our original sequence. 5, 6, 4, 1, 0, 2, 3. So what is the location of 0? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, soul location must be 4, but it is showing 0. So it means that there is something wrong with our function, find soul location. Okay, now let's throw it out again. So I start with the integer 0. We'll do the while loop until my init array in the position id equals 0. So it means that this function will work only if my current location, like the soul location, like, is placed in the first position. So actually the correct one is this. So I will process the while loop until my current ID in the position ID what I'm now trying to search is not equal 0. So once it will be 0, I will stop. Okay, so now let's check. Okay, and see what is happening. So now, if I will click as many times as I want, so my soul will be always placed into the correct first location. Okay, so the next what we will need to do here is to place the distance. So in order to get the distance, I cannot like start from the first element in my array because I need to know the second city. What is my first city and what is my second city? So for that, the best what we can do is to start our coding here. Like see, in that particular loop, I actually can get the distance, isn't it? So, okay. So I will display Seoul first. Okay, so here display Seoul first. Okay, let's make one variable, current city ID. So and that current city ID is 0 because I am going to display Seoul first, and this is my current city ID 0. Okay, so the next, so here, see, I start from the city ID 0, but as long as I already display Seoul, I don't need to start from 0. So I will start from the second city, New York. So now if I do have first city Seoul and second city New York, I can get the distance. Okay, let's make like integer, current distance. So how can I get the current distance? So I will need to get it from array dist, isn't it? Distance. So here I just copy our matrix distance. So here, just in order to make sure that we can see, so how does it work? So see, how can I get the current distance? So now I am in Seoul and I want to go New York. So I want to go from Seoul, and okay, here you cannot see, but the New York is this 11,052 kilometers. So I need to get this number. So how can I get it? So I need to know from what city I am go and to what city I am go. So the first number, what is located here, will be our current city. So our current city ID is Seoul, so that's why I will place it here. So this is 0. So this is 0. Now, I am going to New York. So New York has the index 6. How can I get that particular index 6? See, I already display New York here. So the random sequence in the position city ID, so city ID is 1. So it means that I am reading this 6. So that 6 I can get from my random sequence city ID. So it means that the second number here must be this. So, and that number is our 6. So the distance, current distance in the position 0, 6 is this 11,052 kilometers. So, and now I will have to display that particular number where? Here. And now I will have exactly the same problem what we met when we talk about the cities. Because my distances, they are same as cities. So there are 4 distances, 5 cities. So if I am using that particular loop, so I also need the list of my distances. Okay, so that's why here I will create it one more time. Private text view. Let's call it distances list. array, a new text view. Okay, how many distances I have? 4. So that's why I will place 4 here. So so distance list in the position 0, that will be my distance 1, 2. Distance in between first city and second city. So I do have 4 distances, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. So, and all of them will be located into the distance list. And now I can get access to them through that index, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I use 0, so that will be the distance in between city 1 and city 2. If I will use the index 1, that will be the distance in between city 2 and city 3, and so on. Okay, so now that particular display current distance. So how can I display the current distance? That will be the distance list. So see, I need to call that particular my first distance. So that's why here it's supposed to be 0, isn't it? But see, my city ID is 1 already, and I will display those distances one by one. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So means that this city ID here is 1, but I need 0. So that's why I'm supposed to subtract 1, minus 1. Okay, and set text string value of current distance. Current distance. Okay, now let's try. Okay. Seoul, Madrid. This is Seoul, Madrid. Okay, so now I'm going from Seoul to Madrid, like from Seoul to Madrid, 9,995 kilometers. Got it? Next, I am going from Madrid to Singapore. So Madrid is here. So I am going to Singapore. And this is wrong, because that gives us like 4,000. There is no 4,000 here. So 4,000 is here. See, actually now what is going on, instead of going from Madrid to Singapore, we are going from Seoul to Singapore. Now let's discuss what is happening, why it is not going correct. So if we will come back to our source code, see, so here I do have my current city ID, and this is 0. 0 means Seoul. So we start from Seoul, that's why we place our ID here equal to 0. But now I will go to the next city. So if I already moved from Seoul to Madrid, so now my current city ID should be changed. It cannot be the 0 anymore. So now my current city ID must move to what? To Madrid. So and the Madrid has the index 3. So and this is nothing else as our random sequence in the position city ID. Okay, so now let's try again. So every time when I move from city to city, I am supposed to update my current city ID. So and see now what is happening. Seoul to New York. From Seoul to New York, 11,000 kilometers, correct? From New York to Madrid. From New York to Madrid, 5,768, correct? From Madrid to Singapore, like I'm in Madrid going to the Singapore, 11,382 kilometers, correct? And from Singapore to Paris, from Singapore to Paris, 10,730. Okay, see what is happening? So we got all necessary components like for our trip. So now the distances is allocated correctly. So if I will like click generate one more time, so we can check, and the distances will be always correct. So what else we can do here? I start from Seoul and I want to come back to Seoul. So I don't want to go like and stay in other cities. At the end of my vacation, I supposed to come back to Seoul. So, and what kind of differences, like what kind of things I can place here in our application. So again, coming back to our random sequence. So we start from Seoul 0, 3, 5, 1, 2. So that will be our cities, isn't it? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 2 here must be replaced to 0. So if instead of this 2 I will have 0, so means that I will come back to Seoul. So that will violate our rules that that should not be the two same numbers in the random sequence. But if we really need it, we can implement that particular properties as well. So, and that's what we are going to do here. Okay, so place 0 to position 4 in the random sequence. So it means I will come back to Seoul. So how can I do that? So the random sequence in the position 4 equals 0. So if I will move that total here, we can see the effect. Okay, see, start from Seoul 0, 3, 6, 1, Madrid, New York, London, and my last city what I will go is became like is Seoul. So if I will place that 0 here, so automatically we will come back to our destination. Okay, and let's check whenever it is correct, like Seoul to Madrid, correct, Madrid to New York, 5,000. Yeah, 5,768, so that's correct. New York, London, so from New York to London is 5570, correct, and from London to Seoul, 8,857. Okay, correct. So technically we finish this part, but now we need to calculate total. So how can I calculate the total? So for total, we need one extra variable, total distance, and let's make it as 0. So, and every time when I calculate the current distance, so here I will update my total distance and add that current distance to total distance. So finally, that should be my answer. So assume that everything is going correct. So that's why I don't need that total, because we use total in order to display information. So I will delete. So, and at the end, like total, set text. So that will be total. So total plus total distance plus kilometers. And let's check. Generate. So this is our total distance. So now everything is working. So this is our like application, the current application, what we just finished, related to the travel game. So here we first time use the concept of the random sequences. So, and we generate some kind of procedure where that random sequences can help us to design different coding. So that particular coding, like from the first point of view, may became pretty much complex. So that's why I spent some time to trying to understand what is going on, especially with those two-dimensional array where we are calling the different numbers, so different components. So that will definitely help. So in the last comment, so here I want to change the title of our application into the travel game video. Travel game video. Okay, so that's all for today. Good luck. Try to implement it.